The Diamondbacks and fans alike have been asking themselves, would a Ketel Marte trade be worth it? Would it benefit or hurt the team in the long run? And would any team in their right mind give up what would be needed to make that deal happen?
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Dane Biggs. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So yesterday we talked quite a bit about this recurring rumor that keeps going around about that makes it sound like Ketel Marte is definitely getting traded. Is Ketel Marte in the process of getting traded right now? No, probably not. That's not what's going on. What is happening, and if you didn't hear yesterday's episode or for whatever reason haven't heard any of the news, it's been reported that the Diamondbacks are highly motivated is the phrase that was used. Highly motivated to move Ketel Marte, to trade him. And so people are like, "Oh my gosh, the Diamondbacks want to get rid of Ketel Marte." And it's like, well, no, okay, so that's not exactly what's happening. So the report what's being reported. First of all, it's probably accurate, but what it is saying, what it actually is happening, is that the Diamondbacks are simply listening to offers. Marte isn't an untouchable player. I think if you're looking at untouchable players, you're looking at, and we'll talk about this here in a second, but you're looking at Corbin Carroll, Ryan Nelson, Geraldo Perdomo. I think there's no way that we would trade any of them. But Ketel Marte, we're not that we want to trade Ketel Marte. I don't think anybody in the organization wants to trade Ketel Marte. But it would be kind of foolish of them not to at least go like, okay, well, if you have an offer, like, I'll listen. I'm not going to say yes, but I mean, if you got an offer, look, what do you got? And I think the reason for that is because the Diamondbacks don't exactly have a lot of valuable players to offer in a trade right now. We have prospects and good prospects too, and we have a lot of depth in those. Like, we have a lot of infielders and a few outfielders that that are very high prospects, and we have a fair amount of depth in those regions, particularly in the infield, and even in the outfield more so than pitching. So it makes sense to be like, okay, well, we have a good amount of depth in position players, but not in pitchers. So if you give us a pitcher, we'll give you a position player. Kind of makes sense. But that's kind of the extent of what we got. The next best thing is probably Jordan Lawler, to offer him in a trade. I don't want to offer Jordan Lawler in a trade because I feel like I personally feel like, and I know a lot of you do too, that he's coming up on a big breakout year, and that he's going to continue to develop. He did kind of he did skid pretty hard first coming up, but then once he was up and once he was here, he was doing pretty well, and he's been doing fairly well in winter ball as well. So I have a good feeling about Jordan Lawler. I would hate to see him go. But with Ketel Marte, you have somebody who I don't want Ketel Marte to leave. I want him to stay here, but you could get a lot for Ketel Marte as opposed to anybody else. A lot of people, including myself, are like, well, we could, trade Alec Thomas or Jake McCarthy. The problem is nobody really wants them because they're not all-stars. They're not super high performing. They're kind of just middle of the road. And so we could be like, oh, well, we'll trade you both of them. And it's like, well, I guess we'll give you this mediocre return, I guess. Like, you get what you get what you give. And so if that's all we're giving, then yeah, we can't really expect too much. But with Ketel Marte, if you get what you give, we're going to get a lot. And as I said, we have a lot of depth in the infield, and our offense is pretty decent. Like, I mean, it's one of the best in the league. a big part of that is because of Ketel Marte, but we could probably afford to take a step back offensively if it means taking 2 steps forward defensively. That all being said, that's the reasons to trade him. There are a lot of reasons not to trade him, and we got into that yesterday. So if you want to really dive into this, you can go listen to yesterday's episode. But what I want to do is I want to see what you thought about the Marte rumor, and a lot of you guys had a lot to say. So let's go ahead and dive on in. Uh, Someone just called M said that would be so lame. That's it. Short name, short comment, but I totally agree. That would be very lame. Even if we do get some good returns for him, that would be kind of a bummer. like like completely. We had Cindy Alf say that the Dodgers will probably get him. The Dodgers will not get him unless we give him to them. They can't just take him. If he was a free agent, then yeah, then you'd be looking at a possibility of them just coming and giving him the biggest contract offer, and he'd have to take it. But at this point, the Dodgers would have to give us something pretty hefty in return. But I don't know that the Diamondbacks and Dodgers have a lot of. I don't know that they have a lot of interactions as far as trades go. We can track all that. Maybe I'll look into that. But we can see how many transactions have happened between teams, and I don't think the Dodgers are a high transaction team with us. The Marlins, the Mariners, the Blue Jays, those are we trade with them all the time. So if you want to know who we're trading with or who we're going to trade for, look at any of those teams and see who they have on the list, and that maybe gives you a good idea of who we could expect. But MP5 says, if we actually get rid of Ketel Marte, I'm going to flip out. We got rid of Gino and Naylor for a bunch of nobodies. Now yes, we need pitching, but pitching doesn't matter if you get rid of all the dudes scoring runs. Stupid, terrible move unless we get someone crazy in trade. And even then, I'm not thrilled about it. I think that it's almost certain, unless Mike Hazen just blows it, I think it's almost certain that if we did trade Marte, we would get somebody crazy in that trade. We would get somebody crazy in return. But you're right, even still, I wouldn't be thrilled about it. But we would need somebody who's ready to go this season. With the other with Suarez and Naylor and Merrill Kelly, and we got all these prospects because we weren't really playing for the immediate time. And a lot of them, maybe not so much for Gino and Naylor, though. I mean, we do have a handful of people that I think could develop into something big. But with Kelly, we got a lot of pretty good prospects that I'm real excited about. We got Drake, we got Brat, which is the coolest name ever. I believe Hoffman came from that trade as well. 3 pitching prospects that I think are going to develop very well and be a big deal here in the next couple of years. But if we were to trade Ketel Marte, we would not trade him for prospects. We would trade him for one or a few people that are ready now and could help us win right now. Because unlike Suarez and Naylor and Kelly, whoever gets Marte, whether it be us or anybody else, will have him until 2030. With Suarez and Naylor, we couldn't ask for a ton in return because they were going to be free agents at the end of the year. So we have a lot more leverage, and we could get a lot more in return for Marte than we could for Gino and Naylor. And they're not the only guys getting runs, thankfully. I mean, Marte kind of slowed down big time towards the end of the year, and we still were scoring plenty of runs. Carroll and Perdomo and Moreno were scoring a bunch, but admittedly, the rest of the guys, the lower lineup, wasn't doing much. So that would need to be. I think if we were to trade Marte, we would need to bolster our offense a bit, which hopefully we will anyway. If we get a first baseman and a third baseman, if we can get somebody to fill in those roles, somebody to provide some heavy hitting, then that would be beneficial. But again, I don't think we are going to get rid of Ketel Marte. We could. I don't think we will. So there's that. Jim said he's not going anywhere. Fingers crossed. I agree. I hope not, but we'll see. Adam said it'll be interesting to say the least. Marte is a fan favorite, and despite the problems he's gone through, he produced a good slash line. But there's business in sports, and the D-backs are capped and cheap. I wouldn't call the Diamondbacks cheap. They actually do put a good portion of their funds back into payroll. I would call the Diamondbacks not cheap, but I would call them what's the nice way to say poor? they don't make very much money. Like they make more money than like, the Marlins or actually I don't know about that. I know they put more money in than the Marlins do, but they make more money than, a good number of teams, but they don't make, I think they're 18th in out of 30 as far as what they bring in, and they're like 11th in payroll. So they're putting in more than they're earning, but they financially, you said it yourself, there's a business in sports, and if the Diamondbacks aren't earning a certain amount of money, then that's not good. Also, I saw reports just this morning about how, I don't know if this is true, but reportedly, every MLB team or MLB teams overall have lost like $1.8 billion or something like that. And like some teams are losing like 300 million a year, just in overall revenue and stuff. And which could be some fancy and creative accounting, just to kind of the MLB trying to get like teams to do what they want more often or whatever. But there's a good chance the Diamondbacks are losing money. It was estimated that they either earned $9 million over the course of the entire year, or they've lost $35 million. So they can't really afford to just be like, well, yeah, we'll keep Marte and we'll sign 2 all-star starting pitchers and all-star closer and Alex Bregman for third base and this and that. They just can't do that. If they did that, they'd be neck deep in debt, and they would maybe not even make the playoffs if you're looking at like the Mets with their payroll, and it would tank the team for the next 10 years. So that's just not something they can do. The Dodgers can, the Mets can, the Yankees can, the Cubs can, Diamondbacks can't, the Nationals can't. These teams who have done it and then suffered greatly for it. I also wanted to share, I shared this yesterday, but Gambo from Burns and Gambo tweeted, he said, here's the easiest way to put this. This is his insider insight into this situation. Are the Diamondbacks shopping Ketel Marte? No. Would they listen if someone called? Yes, as they should. And I would expect after what happened over the summer, they may get a few calls. So, I mean, yeah, there probably are a few teams that are like, hey, what could we do? Like we're interested. But actively, and then so anyway, but then he says, but actively calling teams to offer him in a trade, that has not happened. So it's not like the Diamondbacks are calling the Blue Jays or the Mets or whoever saying, hey, give us this and we'll give you Ketel Marte. Nobody, the Diamondbacks are not doing that. He does say, I would say only Corbin Carroll and Ryan Nelson would be considered untouchable. Yes, add Perdomo to that list, he later said. So that's, I think, the best explanation for what's going on. So if you see on Facebook, oh my gosh, Ketel Marte is leaving, he's probably going to get traded, remember, no, that's probably not what's happening. And maybe even my videos and thumbnails kind of make it seem like that just to get you to click and listen. But you're here, so thank you for being here. And if you're not subscribed on YouTube, you should subscribe because we talk about the Diamondbacks every day. It's very fun. Anyway, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to go through a few more comments that came up right as I was getting ready to start recording. And then and then we will talk a bit more about the Japanese player market, which I'm very interested in and want to hear your thoughts on that as well. So stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, a handful of other comments that we got on this subject of Ketel Marte. We had a Cleveland Guardians fan, Darren, comment and said, Cleveland will take him off your hands. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. Start with Cantillo and Bazana and add on. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know who either of those guys are. Let me look into them real quick. So Joey Cantillo, he is a starting pitcher. He's from Hawaii. And interestingly, I didn't see that until just now. And he is only 25 years old. He'll be 26. And he has actually, I mean, he pitched in 34 games, started 13 games this season, has a 3.21 ERA. So he's a very young player, and he's a left-handed starting pitcher or relief pitcher. And shows a lot of promise, actually. Honestly, he has 108 strikeouts and 95 innings pitched. He has a 1.26 WHIP. So on the surface, he's pretty good. Now, by himself, obviously not. There's no way we would trade Ketel Marte for Joey Cantillo or Cantillo. I don't know how you would pronounce that if he's Hawaiian, but let's look at the next one. He said Bazana, which is a super dope last name, but Travis Bazana. He is currently he's in AAA right now on the Columbus Clippers, and in his 2025 season, he batted .245 with an OPS of .813, so not bad. And in 300 at bats, hit 9 home runs, 39 RBIs. So pretty good. He's a first round pick, or he's the first round pick. Oh, wow. I didn't even see that. 2024 first round pick, overall pick number 1. Wow. Dang. I feel like I probably should have known who he was then, but I didn't. But anyway, so those two, so their number 1 pick plus one of their good up and coming pitchers. I think that's a good starting point. But again, we would need somebody who can start today and be really good. And honestly, I don't think the Diamondbacks even listen unless you throw in somebody like Gavin Williams, which I don't think you would want to trade him. He's the Guardians' best pitcher right now, and he's only 26 years old, and he's 6'6". Holy moly, he's tall. And and he's great, and he's under team control for a good long while still. But that's kind of what I think the Diamondbacks are expecting. So I think if the Guardians were to go like, oh, well, we'll trade you Quintilla and Bazana, the Diamondbacks are going, no, we're not interested. Like if you throw in Gavin Williams, maybe, and the Guardians will be like, oh, I don't know. And they'll be like, all right, that's who we're expecting. So if you're not willing to do that, then we're not going to trade him. And even still, I mean, that would be, I think Gavin Williams plus those two, honestly, might not be a terrible trade. Bazana is a second baseman as well, so that would kind of fill that. We have quite a few second base infielders that would take Marte's place pretty quickly, but having him there would add that depth. and then having a good additional starting pitcher / relief pitcher who's young and developing like Quintillo would be, I mean, that would be pretty nice. So anyway, I don't think that would, like, again, that's the kind of thing that if that were to happen, if that deal were to go down, I would be bummed. I'd be like, oh man, we traded Marte for we traded Marte for these guys that I kind of don't know about very well. Or, the number one draft pick, but he's not like MLB ready yet necessarily. I'd be bummed out, but it kind of would make sense. I don't know. I'd like to hear your thoughts though. And any Guardians fans, let me know if does that sound fair to you? I mean, that would probably sting, but would that be fair? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. We had another comment. This one from 9CVP9. It's a cool name, I guess. Said Dodgers will take him. How about Emmett Sheehan for Marte? First of all, I don't think we would trade him to the Dodgers, but Emmett Sheehan does have some pretty good numbers as well. He's under team control until 2030 or until 2029, so we'd have him for a similar amount of time. In 12 games started and 3 additional games in relief, he has a 2.82 ERA, 6-3 record. Not bad. WHIP of 9.968. So it's not bad, but it would need to be more than just him. We'd need a little bit. We'd need a couple other tokens there. We need a couple other pieces in that trade deal to make that happen. Especially, again, I don't know that the Diamondbacks and Dodgers really talk much. I could be wrong, but I would probably not go with that just right there. There's another one I did not get a chance to look into this one, but I'll just read it out loud and let you guys think about it. Because usually if I see these, I don't recognize all these players on other teams. So, or if I do, I just don't know enough about them. But Corey says trade Marte, Pavin Smith, and Murillo to Tampa Bay, who we do trade with Tampa Bay. So that one I could see happening. But for Diaz, Lowe, Rasmussen, Rodriguez, and Boz, that, I mean, on the surface, maybe. I can maybe see something like that. It would be a blockbuster type deal if Marte were to get moved, for sure. So that would be a pretty big one. But yeah, Tampa Bay fans, if you're listening, which I know all of you are, then let me know what you think on that one, because that'd be interesting. But once again, we're getting a little bit going a little bit over time here. So let's talk a little bit about so let's change topics a little bit here, and let's talk about the Japanese player market that's coming in. We have 3 players in particular that are being talked about. I believe there are a few more that are being posted, but we're just going to talk about these 3 for now, which is and I've said their names before, and I'm sorry if and when I say them wrong or struggle to say them, but Munetaka Murakami, who is a first baseman, third baseman, he's being called the Japanese Babe Ruth. People are saying if you thought Shohei Ohtani had power, wait till you see this guy. He is coming off of an injury season, though, so that's one worry. And also, he does struggle a bit against the heater. So, and that's in Japan. So you add on another 4 or 5 miles per hour and he may really struggle, but that might also just be something that he just needs to, that he'll just kind of, he'll grow into. So he might struggle in the beginning, but he'll come around. And another first baseman, third baseman is Kazuma Okamoto, who has, I believe it was 6 years straight of it was 2018 to 2023. So that would be 6 years straight of having over 30 home runs. He did not last season, though. He's a bit on the older side, but very talented, very skilled, and has the power to boot. So he's going to be a big grab as well. And then there's pitcher, right-handed pitcher, Tatsuya Imai. And I think if the Diamondbacks were to go after any of these guys, I mean, if money wasn't an object, I'd be like, go after all of them. But they're all going to be expecting some pretty big paychecks. So we need a pitcher. Amaya is probably the first, like the highest priority. But I don't necessarily see the Diamondbacks signing any of these guys just because the budget is as tight as it is. I just want, I just hope all three of these guys don't go to the Dodgers. That would be that would just kind of be annoying if that's really just how it happens. But if that happens, then they're just playing into that need for a salary cap narrative. So maybe go for it, I guess. But it'd be kind of fun, kind of crazy. We'll see what happens. Anyway, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to actually talk about our own organization and what we have coming up the pipeline and why I'm still pretty optimistic about the future of the Diamondbacks. So stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. At pitching for the starting, or yeah, at pitching for who we have coming up. So we have Christian Mena, who was injured for the majority of 2025. He's been in Reno. He had a pretty decent 2024, 2025. Not extraordinary, but he's shown to be fairly impressive in the majors in his short outings. So I think he's going to get a fair crack, and if needed, he'll probably be a fairly reliable. He'll be a potentially much needed uh, substitution as far as the starting rotation goes. Hopefully, we're able to fill the rotation pretty well, but there's a good chance he may need to step in, which if he kind of has a similar result as Ryan Nelson, who had to come into the rotation and ended up being our best pitcher, then that'd be great. So I'm excited to see what Mena does. He likely will kind of be middle of the road, at least this season, but he could surprise us, and I would love to see that. As far as our other players down the pipeline, so in AAA, we have Cole Drake, who needs to still, I mean, he played in AAA, didn't have great numbers in AAA, but he did see a big improvement when he went. So he went into AA. When he went into AA, he immediately kind of had like a bit, like his numbers, if you look at him in high A, he did really well. AA, he struggled. And then in 2025, he started in AA and did very well, and then went to AAA and struggled. So basically what we need to see from Drake is we need to see him improve on those AAA numbers. And if he's able to do that, then that shows that he may be ready soon for some big league action. And there's a good chance that we'll see Drake in some capacity in 2026 at some point down the line, but we'll see. Another one that we may see in 2026, though I'm not as confident, is Mitch Bratt, who had a pretty good AA season. He improved on his 2024 numbers and but he's going to need to do very well in AAA. So we'll see how things go throughout the year. If he is able to excel in AAA, then we may see him come up earlier than later. But he also more likely will probably go the entirety of the year in AAA, and then we'll see how 2027 looks. Yu-Min Lin has been in AAA all season, all of 2025. He's a starting pitcher, and he has struggled a fair deal in both AA, and then he got called up to AAA still struggled a bit. He's going to need to show some big development and big improvement this year if he wants to progress any further. Otherwise, I don't even know that he will make it to the major league level. Somebody who I'm a little bit more optimistic about, though, is David Hageman. He's a starting pitcher. He's pitching in the fall league right now. That's why I'm wearing the fall league Salt River Rafters hat. Sorry, there's a lot of kids going crazy right now. Sorry about that. There's the kids are home from school today because it's Veterans Day. So happy Veterans Day, and they're having fun doing kid stuff, but a little loud. So I was just asking them to be a little more quiet. But if you hear kids in the background screaming, they're mine, not yours. Don't worry about it. And also, don't worry, they're happy screams, probably. Anyway, David Hageman, honestly, he looks great. He's doing a really good job. I think, and I'm not the only one who thinks this, but he may be kind of one of our best grabs from this last trade season. So I'm excited to see how he goes and where he goes. He's looking awesome. However, we probably won't see him until closer to 2028. He's quite a bit down the pipeline. Tommy Henry, he's one that we'll see at some point. We're probably not going to see him until late 2026, maybe not even 2027. He's one of those top prospects that hasn't really performed the way we were hoping he would. He's going to get another chance in 2027, but he's going to need to show some big numbers and some big changes if he's going to stick around for too much longer. But I'm hopeful for Tommy Henry. And then finally, I did also just want to point out, he's not in our system, but Merrill Kelly, all signs are kind of pointing to him coming back to Arizona. It looks like he's likely to sign a 1 to 2 year deal, maybe for around $12 million. And we would love to have him back. He would fill a much needed spot in our rotation and would mean we'd only need to acquire one more pitcher to have our full rotation back. So that would be very, very nice. And then as far as relief pitching goes, reminder, Kevin Ginkel's coming back. Dre Jameson is coming back. We also have Brandon Garcia, who is still, he's still developing as well, but he shows a ton of promise. I'm very excited about Garcia. Kyle Backus, we need to keep our eye on him. He isn't necessarily somebody that we're extremely excited about, but I think don't sleep on him. I think he could really prove to surprise us, as well as Yilber Diaz. I think both of them could surprise us, so keep an eye on them. We also have Andrew Hoffman, who made a brief appearance this year. He was exceptional in AAA last year, so excited to see him. He's currently on the 40-man roster, also acquired him at the trade deadline. Blake Walston, he is a fairly good starter. He should be back for the start of 2026 because he has been injured. He'll probably be in AAA, but he's another one to keep your eye on, see how he does. And then there's also he's quite a bit down the line, but Jordan Chalice, who also played in the fall league. He has very good stuff, and he will need to. But he's still going to be in AA at the most this year. So he's going to have to get through that. He may find himself in AAA. And if he excels, I don't know, maybe we will see him this year in the big leagues. But also, hopefully, we don't need to dive that deep into our minor league system for bullpen this year. But we'll see. Anyway, you guys, that's the show. Thank you so much for being here. Be sure to comment and let me know what you think about all this. There's a lot of things here that kind of are polarizing. So let me know what you think, because I'd love to hear it. Be sure to follow us on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Locked On Diamondbacks. We're on YouTube as well as every other place you get your podcasts. If you want to see more of me, you can find more of my YouTube channels and projects at my website, slackshack.tv. Thank you once again for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day, and I will see you tomorrow.